Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the On the Diamond and Into the Deep podcast. As always, I am your host, Mahal, and today is episode 83 of the pod. If you are a listener to other episodes, a common listener of the show, you can see I'm in a different location. We've made it to college, and if you're not a listener, take a look. See, we got the Raleigh towels behind, got some soccer scarves here on my right. Yeah, so we're in a different location. We're going to see if we can get some rhythm here with episodes. We've had a bit of a while since our last episode, but we are back. It's Tuesday, August 26th. The time of recording is 2:57. The Mariners last night defeated the San Diego Padres in the first game of a 3-game series to cut the deficit to 1.5 games back of the Houston Astros. In that ballgame, Cal Raleigh also hit his 50th home run. He's the first catcher to hit 50 home runs, and he is now just the second Mariner to reach that milestone. The MVP race is heating up, so we'll talk about Cal Raleigh and the MVP race against the one and only Aaron Judge. We will also talk about the next week for the Mariners and the teams around them, and we'll talk about some splits between the Mariners on the road and at home through the course of this season. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's begin with the only place that's right to begin. The Big Dumper. The question I'm posing, and the question that everybody's posing, is whether or not he is the American League most valuable player. And the reason that this is a discussion is because of the season he's having, obviously. And his countable stats, the home runs, RBI stats, they speak for themselves. But he's lower in some other stats compared to Judge that recently have become maybe a bigger factor. That said, Cal Raleigh is a catcher, and in a very good catcher, a catcher that won not only the Gold Glove last year, but the Platinum Glove last year at his position. So he is an elite defensive catcher that is putting up a historic season at the plate for a catcher. Maybe the greatest hitting season for a catcher. Is it the greatest overall season for a catcher? By the time everything's said and done, it's incredibly possible, and that's a discussion that we will cross. That's a bridge we'll cross when we get to it. But for now, for me, he's having the greatest hitting season a catcher's ever had. If you want to get into stats, it's a 161 WRC plus with 50 home runs and 107 RBIs. This is all post-game, August 25th. This is after the game. He had his 50th. He's 13 home runs away from breaking Aaron Judge's record of 62 home runs, the American League record for single-season home runs, and really the true record, because the only other record is steroids. And steroids broke their own records. The 70 home run club. Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa. But Cal Raleigh's doing this in a ballpark in T-Mobile Park that really diminishes power from both sides. And Cal has done it not only from his historically better and more powerful side of the left side of the plate, but he's also done it from the right side of the plate. And that brings you to another point. Ultimately, Cal Raleigh is a switch hitting, elite defensive catcher that has already hit more home runs than a catcher ever has in a season, and has still got the defensive metrics very high. And he's playing majority of his games as a catcher. Tonight will be his 99th game of the season as a catcher. It'll be his 130th game of the season. Over those games, he has 50 home runs. 50 home runs in 129 games as a catcher. And if you want to talk about the defensive metrics that I mentioned, where he's still been elite defensively, and maybe he hasn't been the silver or the platinum glove winning defensive catcher he was last year, but he has still been very close to gold glove caliber, if not gold glove caliber. He's in the 87th percentile framing. He's in the 81st of caught stealings, the 86th of fielding run value. Now, obviously, ultimately, this episode, we're going to compare each and every one of these stats that I'm mentioning so far to that of Aaron Judge, because Aaron Judge is also putting up a historic season. But for me, I'm looking at it like this. Aaron Judge, he got hurt his elbow. Since then, he's DHing every game. So his fielding value it's stagnant. It's, if anything, it's diminishing because he's not playing the field. Judge's bat has slowed down while hitting from the designated hitter position every game. Cal's has heated up while catching a heavy majority of the Seattle Mariners baseball games. Both are in playoff positions. They're both supporting their teams, but Cal Raleigh is really a mainstay for this team leadership-wise, but also Cal is doing something the Judge can't do. Judge does bring leadership to that Yankees clubhouse. He is a big factor for that Yankees team in the clubhouse, on the field, at the plate, all of that. He is a factor. He's a big factor. He is one of the best players in baseball, and ultimately is probably a better baseball player than Cal Raleigh. But it's about this season. And Cal Raleigh is hitting 50 home runs. As a catcher, that means he is active in every single play, every pitch of the game. Cal Raleigh's active. He's calling pitches. He's deciding, how can I lead this starting rotation? And on that, the Mariners are built upon their starting rotation. And we'll talk more about just evidence that that's the case later in this episode when we look at their home and road splits. But historically, this Mariners team is built upon their rotation and their bullpen, upon their pitching. Their pitching staff carries them. And Cal Raleigh is a massive leader for all of that. As a catcher, he's calling pitches. He has to know each and every pitcher on the roster, while also getting to know every pitcher he's facing night in, night out. All of this has been without even mentioning stats beyond the 50 home runs. After Sunday, Cal Raleigh accumulated 7.3 Fangraphs wins above replacement. That tied him with Aaron Judge. As we sit here pre-game Tuesday, Judge and Cal are tied in F4. F4, or Fangraphs wins above replacement, however you want to refer to it, is the stat that is accounting for your ultimate value as a baseball player, disregarding leadership stuff. Anything that comes into play on the field, F4 is accounting for. There's also B-WAR, baseball references version of the same stat, but F4 is most commonly used. Judge has been ahead of Cal fairly significantly for most of the season, and that's been a big reason why ultimately even I have leaned Judge. But Cal Raleigh has played more games and played a lot more games at his position in the field, which is a much more difficult position. Judge has had a 193 WRC plus. This is basically how good of a hitter you are in terms of run value. Cal is a 161, so Judge is 32% better compared to league average than Cal Raleigh has been as a hitter. But again, the F4 is the same. Slash line wise, Cal 247, 353, 596. Judge 323, 439, 667. Judge leads in all three of the slash, and that's about all he leads in. Yes, those matter. But if that's all he's leading in at this point, I mean, we got bigger things to talk about. Raleigh, 50 to 40 home runs, 107 RBIs to 93. Again, 129 games to 121 with 98 at his catching position versus Judge has 80 in right field. In terms of baseball savant, if you want to get some StatCast stuff in terms of defense, 87th percentile in framing, Cal Raleigh is. 81st in caught stealing. 86th in fielding run value. Judge, 77th outs above average, 91st with arm value, and he is in the 80th percentile of fielding run value. Judge is in the 100th percentile of batting run value. Cal is in the 98th, but Cal has 14 stolen bases to Judge's 8. Judge is leading in WRC plus, slash, and batting run value from the stats that we've picked. Cal's leading in stolen bases, defensive stuff, RBIs, home runs. They are tied in F4, and Cal has played more games overall and more games at a more difficult position. The most difficult position in baseball. And on top of that, Cal Raleigh is putting up numbers that have been unheard of for a catcher. Yes, Judge has done the same thing. But he wasn't a catcher, and he's not a center fielder anymore. And at this point in the season, he's not a right fielder anymore. He's a DH. That has to nerf his value to me. Yes, I have bias as a Seattle Mariners fan, an avid Mariners fan. But to me, Cal Raleigh's the MVP. And it's because he's a catcher, a switch hitting catcher. He has to work on 2 swings, an entire pitching staff, all at the same time, and he's doing historic things at the plate. So ultimately, for this discussion, Cal Raleigh's the MVP. And as we move on, I want you to remember the stuff I talked about with him leading this pitching staff, and that this pitching staff is the backbone of the Seattle Mariners baseball team. Now, moving on, let's get into some home and road splits. Since the All-Star break, the Mariners have been elite, one of the best teams in baseball, or at least it looks that way when they're at home, and on the road, they look atrocious. Part of that is that it's been one road trip and a homestand and a few games. But the Mariners have lost 2 games at home out of now 4 series plus a game. I don't have the exact record up, but we do know that they've been significantly better overall at home versus on the road. So I wanted to dig in and see why. I wanted to look at stats hitting wise and pitching wise. So I split those into 2 groups, and then I split each of that into splits. We took home and road splits from that. Offensively, I will tell you right off the bat, this team's better offensively on the road, and that's to be expected. WRC plus wise, the Mariners rank 14th at home with a 105 WRC plus. They rank 21st in slugging, 388, 28th in on base, 30th in average. They have the second highest strikeout percentage, 11th in walk percentage, and they're 20th in runs. On the road, they have been a different monster. 4th in WRC plus on the road, 3rd in slugging, 3rd in on base, 5th in average, 16th in strikeout rate, 8th in walk rate, and 4th in runs. If you want to look at 2 stats from this that very easily point to the Mariners being a better offensive team on the road than at T-Mobile Park, it's runs and it's WRC plus. The difference between 4th and 14th and 20th and 4th is significant. That's a significant difference. But speaking on significant differences, pitching-wise is also a significant difference. At home, 4th in ERA at 3.35, 10th in FIP, 12th in strikeouts per 9, 8th in walks per 9, 14th in home runs per 9, 3rd in WHIP. On the road, 23rd ERA, 24th in FIP, 16th in strikeouts per 9, 9th walks per 9, 26th in home runs per 9, 26th in WHIP. This team is a tale of 2 teams at home and on the road. The biggest difference here on why the Mariners are struggling on the road is that at home they've had an elite pitching staff and a mid offense. However, on the road they've had an elite offense and a bad pitching staff. The difference is that mid-tier versus the bad tier. And we've talked about this in years past with the offense. It's always been, if this offense can just be 15th in WRC plus at the end of the year, then this team's a playoff team. That's what they've done. But the pitching staff has not been as good. And a lot of that is due to what they've done on the road. And part of that's due to injuries, don't get me wrong. But to me, the stat that jumps out is home runs per 9. Your home runs per 9 jump from 1.11 to 1.33. Now, that's not going to sound that big, but in terms of rankings, it drops, 8 spots from 14th to 26th. You go from above average to one of the bottom 5 teams in the league. That should not happen. That cannot happen. Why that's happening, I'm not sure. Part of it's that, as we talked about earlier, T-Mobile Park does limit home runs. It limits doubles, extra base hits, all this junk. But how can you be that different? It almost feels unheard of, incorrect. It doesn't feel real. But it is. It definitely is. And it's not just the starters. It's been the bullpen too. And also on that, the WHIP is very, very significantly different. Going from 3rd to 26th in WHIP that's significant. That's very significant. A top 3 to a bottom 4. And that's base runners. You're giving up significantly more base runners. So when home runs are being hit, they're scoring more runs with those home runs. So what I'm going to look for from this pitching staff on the road is less home runs, less walks, but walks have been fine, even though they are up about 0.4%, or about 0.4 walks per nine, about a half a walk per 9 innings. But it's about being able to limit home runs, being able to limit hits, and overall being able to limit base runners. And that is how you're going to be successful as a pitching staff. You limit base runners, there's going to be overall less damage against you. And the Mariners need to win some road games. And they have some big ones coming up. And that takes us into our next segment here. Their next road series is this weekend. They head to Cleveland. Cleveland sits 6 games back of the Seattle Mariners right now for the 3rd wild card. This is a big series. You go in there and sweep Cleveland, assuming it stays at 6 before that series begins. You can get up to as far as 9 games ahead of Cleveland and basically have them out of contention. If you get swept, it cuts down to 3 and they're right back into it. And at that point, Kansas City, Texas, also likely to be closer. So it's a big series. You have to go win, for me at least, 2 of 3 in Cleveland. And you need to win really every series here from here on out. You're not going to win every series. I understand that. But you have to win series. That's the most important thing. And when you're playing a series against a team around you, you have to go and win that series. That's going to be for this weekend series in Cleveland. And that's going to be when they play Kansas City and Houston both at the end of September. 2 of your last 4 series are against Kansas City and Houston, both on the road. You have to pick up your form away from T-Mobile Park because you have 3 massive series against 3 teams right around you that you want to pass or stay ahead of if you want to be playing baseball come October. The Mariners tonight face the San Diego Padres. It'll be game 2 of the 3-game series. And they need to keep winning because Houston has Colorado this week. Boston has Baltimore. The Yankees have the Nationals. Boston then goes into they go play Pittsburgh. The Yankees go and play the White Sox. Houston plays the Angels. So you have 2 difficult series here with 2 more in San Diego and then 2 more at home in San Diego and then 3 in Cleveland. And to me, you got to win at least 3 of the 5 remaining this week. If you can get 4 of 5, I'll be jolly. Very jolly. If you can get 5 of 5, then we're talking about very potentially being a half game back or ahead of the Houston Astros. Or tied with the Houston Astros, which any of those sound very nice. Again, you sit a game and a half back right now. I think if you can keep it at 3 games back or under by the end of this week, you're going to be in a good spot. I think that has to be the goal. And I think your goal also should be to remain in the 3rd wild card, of course. But if you can get into the 2nd or the 1st wild card and start to cement yourself there, that also would be huge. Because I want some baseball games at home. I want to see T-Mobile Park rocking in October again. That's all from me today. Again, welcome back. It's been a while since we recorded. We haven't even recorded since the trade deadline. So again, welcome back. That's on me. We will get into a rhythm here coming up. We will be back next week with another episode unless anything crazy important happens. The Mariners go and win 5 of 5. We might be recording Monday or even Sunday. But for now, thank you guys so much for listening. This has been episode 83 of the On the Diamond is Elite podcast. Go M's and peace.